To free herself from the burden of regret, she decided to give me her first time. But meeting her timid smile, I could not accept this gift and pushed her away. Images from a past life came flooding back, my mother's smile suddenly extinguished by an incurable illness. At that time, I was completely depressed and couldn't even notify all my relatives about what had happened. Shen Yu-chu, who was my deskmate, lent me 380,000 to help me out of that trouble. But I didn't expect her to spend that kind of money without leaving anything for herself. Confused but determined, she was going to leave with her mother. Before leaving, she felt that she had to marry me to pay off her debt of honor. I didn't resist her impulse. I stayed with her for the night, but the next morning, full of thoughts about her, I made a fatal mistake. I jumped off the roof. The memories of that life will forever remain a deep scar in my heart. But now I've returned to Mojai. Didn't I do enough in the past? After all, this is my first time. Her soft voice interrupted the flow of my heavy thoughts. I told her, "Yu-chu, go home, forget about the money." I wanted to leave, but she remained lying on the bed. I grabbed my 100 units. "Don't go, give me a chance to repay the debt tonight." I looked at Shen Yu-chu, who looked completely devastated. I turned away, swallowing hard. Our Huaicheng University is a serious institution. Couldn't you be a little more selfish? My words caught her off guard. There was sadness in her eyes. She planned to leave this world to pay off her debts. I carefully covered her hand with mine. "Forget about the money. Your classmates don't have to pay back that much. Just go home and calm down." She nodded slightly. Shen Yu-chu leaves, leaving me confused. I thought, this time she won't dare jump off the building, right? As soon as this thought flashed through my head, a strange voice was heard. A voice announced, "Shen Yu-chu will jump from the summit of the famous mountain at 11 o'clock today. The prevention mission has failed and the emergency food supply has been cut off." I didn't expect it to be anything but a joke. So she still wants to leave. No more jumping off roofs. I won't allow it. Starting tomorrow, everything will be different. There was no doubt left. Shen Yu-chu had already started the countdown. We had only 300 minutes left, 5 hours until 11 p.m. I was determined to hold her back. "You know, I've decided that the debt needs to be repaid. It's no good remaining in debt," I said, and she, contrary to expectations, believed that everything was going according to her plan. We continued our conversation. She was so shy and depressed that, trying to lighten the mood, I lightly hit her on the head with a book. "You're the pride of the school, an excellent student. Is your head really full of nonsense?" Shen Yu-chu looked genuinely offended. "Why are you hitting me?" she muttered. God, she was so sweet at that moment. I took a photo of her. How nice it was to tease our school beauty. With a sense of satisfaction, I added, "You're a student at a university in the capital, the best in your class. Is earning 388,000 really a problem for you?" She covered her head with her hands. I looked at her with a smile. "We agreed you'll find a part-time job tomorrow." As soon as I said this, the timer on her head changed to 3 days. I barely suppressed a grimace. I realized I had to keep up the joke. Was it really that hard to make money in 3 days? Looking at the timer, I realized I couldn't let her out of my sight for a second. Shen Yu-chu noticed my thoughtfulness. She was about to leave, but I stopped her. "Don't go now. Shall we go for a walk? The sunset is so beautiful today." We fell silent, looking at the clouds. As I was pondering what to say next, Shen Yu-chu, whose hand I was holding, suddenly whispered, "It hurts." I wanted to let go, but she pressed her finger to her lips. I squeezed her hand tighter, and she looked up at me. "Okay, let's go for a walk," she said, trying to force a smile, but it came out sad. I couldn't help but laugh. The timer above her head showed 7 days. We went outside. We wandered through the streets of Huai City until we reached the park. Shen Yu-chu pointed in a direction I wasn't even looking at. There stood the teacher's water tower. There was deep disappointment in her voice. "I was going to pay off the debt today, just jump from there. But I thought the park was full of students and I didn't want to scare them," she admitted, looking at me. "That's why I changed my mind. I'll go to the observation deck on the mountain. There won't be anyone there." I listened to her carefully. I was overcome with anger. Was there really nothing worth living for in this world? Shen Yu-chu seemed so naive in her despair. I let go of her hand and went into the roadside shop. Shen Yu-chu waited outside. As the sun began to set behind the horizon, I ran out of the store. I placed a small snowman in her hands. "How about this, little friend?" She accepted it with surprise. The shadow of sadness on her face faded for a moment. I explained that I had had bad luck at the store and that I would make it right. The refrigerator at the store is broken. I'll help you carry your things home or buy you everything new, Shen Yuchu said, clutching a pudding in her hand. Looking at her, I saw a little girl lost in her own thoughts. It hurts, I said, holding her wrist. Shen Yuchu, don't cry here. Passers-by started looking around, thinking I was a scumbag. People began to gather around, watching our scene. Catching their disapproving glances, I simply dragged Shen Yuchu toward the store. The saleswoman, noticing that Shen Yuchu was still crying, cast a disapproving glance at me, as if I were the worst scoundrel. Although I felt completely innocent, the atmosphere was tense. I sat Shen Yuchu down on the seat and, to somehow compensate for my losses and the stress of the situation, gently touched her hair. She continued to sob. She chewed the pudding, looking at me with such a pitiful expression that my heart sank. I remembered my mother's death, but was immediately distracted by that ridiculous little bud in her mouth. I handed her a pack of napkins. Wipe yourself. I'm sorry you had to go through that, but isn't this world full of things worth enjoying? For example, this pudding is so delicious. Would you like some more? She didn't wipe the pudding off her face, but only wiped away her tears, which made her face look even more comical and touching. I felt truly sorry for her. It wasn't funny at all, rather incredibly sweet. I don't care what other people think, I said. You still owe me 380,000. That's a great incentive to keep going. Don't even think about stupid things or I won't let you go anywhere. Shen Yuchu buried her face in her palms and then quietly said, okay, let's go home. I didn't quite understand her answer, but I encouraged her, deciding to turn her anger into mercy. Stop being so gloomy, look at yourself, all covered in that pudding. Looking at her sweet face, I sighed and made a decision. Listen, let's do this. I'll hire you as a housekeeper. You'll clean and I'll pay you 10,000 a month. That way you can pay me back before you graduate. Deal? While I was talking, I helped her wipe her face. At least until you return the money, you should live a normal life. Shen Yuchu looked up at me and such happiness shone in her eyes as if I had saved her again. I didn't hear exactly what she muttered, but she agreed to my job adventure. At that moment, the timer above her head disappeared. I sighed with relief and gently stroked her cheek. Okay, let's sign the contract. You're my personal assistant now, after all. She pressed her muzzle against my palm just like a little kitten. I know, she replied. I'll move in tomorrow and be the best nanny for you. I let go of her hand. You're still dirty, I smiled. We spent some more time together, enjoying the silence. When I turned around and looked in the mirror, I saw scratches on my face from the chaos. She ran out in a panic and I watched her go. I smiled as I watched her go and heard her gentle voice dissolving into the evening air. Soon after I returned home, Ming Tian, the real villain of this story, appeared on the doorstep. When I went inside, I saw a pretty girl at home, Li Xiu. She was reclining on my sofa, stretching out her graceful legs and looked much more relaxed than I did after a hard day. Li Xiu looked at me. Where did you disappear to, White Dasha? I only now realized what she called me. I hugged her, feeling how nervous I was. I wanted to hold her close, but she was skeptical. She playfully kicked me in the leg. My clothes left a faint scent, but despite the insult, I was happy to be back in familiar surroundings. Xia poked me in the chin with her finger. Do you want me to help you with your dissertation? She asked with feigned anger. She pulled me towards her, turning over on the sofa. Xia, you're wearing blue lace lingerie today, I blurted out completely unexpectedly. She immediately threw a pillow at me. Do you think I'm stupid? I wasn't pretending, I was just being honest. I'm not pretending to be stupid. Don't you think you perform magic every day? I had a hidden camera on me, and I was going to show her what was behind the facade of her image. Li Xia tried to throw a pillow at me again, but instead she accidentally picked up a pair of black silk socks from the sofa. I remembered that this was a piece of equipment left over from Shen Yuchu that I forgot to put away. Li Xia picked up the garment with 2 fingers, her expression becoming utterly delightful. What does this mean? Are you buying this for yourself? Why do I ask you directly? She continued to insist. She sat on the sofa fiddling with the sock. Give it to me. You want me to wear them, right? You have interesting taste in women's clothing. I turned away, trying to object, but she didn't let up. If you're interested, admit it, you idiot. And what does it smell like? Is that really Shen Yuchu's scent? I was shocked. Did she really have such a keen sense of smell as a dog? I moved my nose and caught that same subtle scent of silk that remained after Shen Yuchu and I had been messing around on the bed. My inner voice kept saying, tell the truth, but Li Xi has a strong character. It's better to remain silent. I had $1 million in my account, so I decided not to waste words. I have almost no money left after the amount I lent to Shen Yu Chu. Li Xia continued to fidget with her socks. I stroked her hand and whispered, Xia, there's really nothing shameful about women's clothing. Hearing this, she suddenly lost interest in the interrogation. Thoughts of Shen Yu Chu were still swirling around in my head, but Li Xia, my old friend, seemed to understand me better than anyone. She smiled slyly, looking at my socks. My dear Bai Yi, listen to your sister, she said in a devilish tone. Take the initiative. I wanted to retreat, but it was too late. Her eyes were shining, and her long legs seemed endless. She slid gracefully off the sofa. Do you want me to help you put them on? She whispered in her charming voice. My heart was pounding. I personally helped Li Xia put on those very silk socks that belonged to Shen Yu Chu. The intrigue was heating up. Look at you, you're not doing it at all, she laughed. Come on, we have to go. My mind was still in a haze from what had just happened, and I didn't immediately grasp the meaning of Li Xia's words. She looked at me with obvious suspicion. We had a reunion of alumni that evening. I immediately remembered this important event. I recently moved to the capital where my fellow Jiangdu residents live, and this lunch was a great opportunity to get together. Originally, Li Xia and I had planned to go alone. I'm not a fan of these kinds of gatherings, but the senior who organized it was quite wealthy, and the venue was a 5-star hotel. A free gourmet dinner was a compelling reason to attend. You idiot, Li Xia grumbled, looking at my sluggishness. I told you to stop wasting your time, and that's why you've gone nuts. Then she pointedly turned away. She seemed to be showing off her appearance. I asked her if she was comfortable in the new clothes she had just put on. I was genuinely interested. She was beautiful, but I couldn't resist asking, why didn't you wear protective shorts? In response, she playfully lifted her long legs and showed them to me. Then she turned and gracefully walked away into my bedroom. I bought you a reflective vest, remember? The blue one was a little big for that dress, but you wore it, I said. I looked closer at her skirt and noticed protective pants underneath the lacing. They were longer than normal summer shorts. There, now it's safe, I laughed. She looked at me with a smile. I smiled back, shrugged, and was about to change when I suddenly heard Li Xia's voice. She bought me a shirt, and I obediently pulled on the white thing. Looking in the mirror, I was surprised to notice that I looked like a completely decent person, even quite attractive. I checked my phone, and there really was a million. Suddenly rich, I thought. Now I can add as many ingredients to my noodles as I want. I approached Li Xia in full dress uniform. She glanced at me. Not bad. We walked out to the hotel where Li Chuan stood next to his companion. I had no intention of appearing like a simple driver. Hearing about the driver, I laughed into her shoulder. Now you are this young gentleman's driver. Li Xia bowed her head. Yes, young master, where's our car? It's not that I didn't have transportation at all. I used to save my parents' money, and now, with $1 million in my pocket, I could afford something better. But in a university town, having a car wasn't always an advantage. I hesitated, but Li Xia interrupted my thoughts. Let's go. We set off, Li Xia following behind me as we pulled out of the apartment complex's garage. She took me by the hands, pushing me from behind. Go on, go on. I couldn't resist and asked right on the move. Xia, maybe I should buy a car after all. Li Xia laughed like a child. She answered something, turning her face to the wind, lowering her voice to a conspiratorial tone. Turning around, I saw her happy and couldn't help but smile. Xia, you're so childish, I said. Whitey, you're the one acting like a child, she retorted. We reached the Madu Hotel. As soon as we entered, we saw a crowd of girls who were chatting and enjoying food. The boys watched Li Xia act so freely, and the girls whispered about how Bai Yi was drooling, figuratively, of course. Someone commented, it's a shame Bai Yi is poor. It would be better to entrust Gu Pengfei to a rich man like him who is more suitable for marriage. Bai Yi is more suited to adventure, another added. Li Xia and I exchanged glances, feeling a little out of place at this celebration of life. We simply ate as best we could, but soon noticed a suspiciously large amount of romantic decor in the banquet hall. Some people began to suspect that some kind of surprise was being prepared here. Li Xia and I hid in a corner. I smiled at her, not expecting this dinner to turn into a reality show. I handed Li Xia my cup of wine. It tasted slightly bitter, not at all like good old Sprite. Li Xia tried it and agreed, yes, it's a far cry from Sprite. Xuanzai lightly slapped my ear. White fool, help me eat these desserts. I became worried. Why don't you eat them yourself? I asked. I'm watching my figure, you idiot. I shouldn't have worn this, she said, patting her stomach in frustration. I also touched her belly, and Li Xia stroked my hand in response. White fool, who are you going to confess your feelings to, Shen Yu Chu? She asked. I finished the wine in one gulp. I missed Shen Yu Chu's smile so much. She's probably busy at the dorm right now. Will she be mine tomorrow? I didn't get the answer I was hoping for. Li Xia, noticing my sadness, asked, Why are you smiling? Are you dissatisfied with Luo Xuan? She playfully grabbed my chin. White fool, answer me. Am I more beautiful than Shen Yu Chu? I didn't have a chance to answer. Suddenly, the lights in the banquet hall went out. A bright spotlight illuminated a figure in the center of the room. The man with the microphone spoke to the sound of romantic music. The students screamed with delight, while Li Xia and I remained in the shadows. We were sitting in the back row, munching on desserts, when Li Xia suddenly squeezed my hand tightly. She froze as the beam of light, as if scanning the room, moved to our corner. At that moment, I was deeply upset. The girl next to me was absorbed in this scene. Gu Pengfei, accompanied by music. The confession begins, Li Xia whispered. This may sound unexpected, but I've liked you for a long time. You probably don't remember our meeting on our first day in the capital. Gu Pengfei walked slowly toward Li Xia. A scream echoed across the hall's huge screen. The camera focused on Li Xia, and everyone saw her touch my hand naturally and tenderly. Gu Pengfei stood before me, and his confession was clear to the entire hall. Despite this, the romantic music continued. Li Xia leaned tenderly against me, whispering something in my ear. Her voice made my smile falter. She acted just like my late mother in her best moments, and I couldn't help but wonder, what is she up to? Of course, it was just a show for the audience, like actors do in movies. At that moment, that same system voice sounded in my head again. The choice was simple: agree to pretend to be Li Xi's boyfriend and learn Lan Bo's secret, or refuse and accept 5 million from the host. A substantial sum. 5 million was worth more than any secret, but how could I refuse Li Xia at a time like this? So I generously hugged her around the waist. With my other hand, I touched the microphone in Gu Pengfei's hands. Sorry, but this is just a misunderstanding. I'm already with Li Xia. I pulled her soft body closer to me and hugged her tighter, looking at the stunned Gu Pengfei. Li Xia smiled and took the microphone, smoothing over the awkwardness of the moment. She raised her glass. Let's drink to this wonderful evening. I followed her lead. Thank you all, Li Xia added, blushing. After this impromptu scene, I put some peony shrimp on her plate so that she wouldn't be nervous. Eat, these shrimps are sweet, I read about them, I said solicitously. At that moment, a notification came from the system. The blue necklaces had been delivered, and the power supply for Cersei's shop was already on its way to our future vehicle. I quietly whispered this to Xia. Xia will have a car soon. She knew that our parents had left us a plot of land which would become our ticket to a new life. She carefully placed a piece of food in my mouth. Even if you have money, you shouldn't spend it so recklessly. Don't drive me crazy. Why are you suddenly so cool? Where's my good brother? She laughed as I tried to swallow a large sea cucumber. Shut up, I muttered jokingly, almost choking. I remembered that ugly moment from the past. Gu Pengfei's head was clearly starting to hurt from what was happening. He wanted to show off in front of Li Xia, spending a fortune, but ended up with nothing. Yet he didn't give up, deciding to show off his knowledge of 1982 wines one last time. However, the waitress interrupted his pompous speech. Mr. Zhang, there are insufficient funds on this card. Gu Pengfei became nervous, trying to draw another card, but the situation was becoming comical. He was almost out of cash and began scraping change from his pockets. In a 5-star hotel, it looked pathetic. Finally, having scraped together every scrap, he paid off the debt. With a sigh of disappointment, he left the Madu Hotel. Turning around, he saw another girl and decided to try his luck again. His ego was still hurt. He thought Li Xia had left, but this new girl would do just as well. He couldn't just leave without spending his money in front of everyone. As he approached his car, the Mercedes C-Class's headlights immediately flashed. Hey, wanna ride? He shouted. At that very moment, a Lamborghini pulled up silently at the hotel door. The attention of everyone present instantly switched to our car. Even those who didn't know anything about brands understood. This car was worth millions. Gu Pengfei froze in place, watching as Li Xia and I climbed into the Lamborghini. The people around us rushed towards us, trying to attract attention, but Li Xia only looked through them indifferently. Give me a chance, someone from the crowd shouted. Beishao, this is my WeChat, I'm so cold, people around them complained mockingly. I was so busy that I could hardly concentrate. I grabbed Li Shiyu's hand, begging her to leave quickly. "Let's go to Ziohin now," I said. Li Shia pouted, "Okay, but you owe me a portion of the barbecue." I smiled and gave in. Lamborghini was forgotten and we moved on. Zio Han, whose real name was Yan Han, was a friend of my parents and almost like family. In his past life, he went through hell and eventually broke. I swore I would fix everything in this life. Now Yan Han lived alone, refusing to move in with me, although he had previously been very attached to me. I came to him and saw that he was sleeping on the sofa. I carefully covered him with a blanket. Li Leli sat next to me, as obedient and fragile as a lamb. I sat for a long time in the dark living room, watching him. Anime was playing on TV, and the only sound I could hear was the rustling of food. I sighed and went to the kitchen. I made fried rice with egg, and the familiar homey aroma spread throughout the house. Hearing my voice, Yanhan relaxed. His smile alone was worth all the effort. I brought rice and he started eating, but when he finished, he said coldly, "Why are you here? I didn't invite you, go away." "I'm here for business," I replied. I decided to stay with him for the night, turning down the 5 million the system had promised. I had my doubts. That voice in my head kept talking about missions and money, but I wanted to know, was there a chance to cure Yan Han's eyes? He looked at me with longing. "I'll take care of myself, don't feel sorry for me." I sat down next to him. "I came here on business, but it started pouring rain outside, so I had to take cover," I lied. The rain pounded the windows and I watched the sunset, trying to figure out what awaited us next. "Yes, the rain is really heavy," he agreed, accepting my words. I watched him quietly and then pressed the switch next to the sofa. The living room was lit up. The anime's thunderstorm sequence was just playing on TV and I couldn't help but laugh. "Hear that? It's all the thunder." Something like real emotion flashed across his face for a moment. I wanted to encourage him, but I stopped myself in time so as not to go too far. I shook the bowl, finishing my fried rice, while he silently looked towards the window. Outside the window, the bright sunset was dying down. He couldn't see the color. For him, only darkness existed. It's a shame I only got one takeout, I thought. I added some eggs to the rice and ate with such gusto that it was noticeable. He slowly clenched his fist, but like last time, couldn't resist reaching for my bowl. He tasted the rice I'd brought earlier in the day, then took my bowl. "If you want to take the castle, then finish it," he said, and we both began eating, he, like a small animal, carefully and intently. He looked so sweet at that moment that it took a huge effort not to laugh out loud, otherwise he would have withdrawn into himself again. "The whole bowl is yours," I said. He took it with a cold expression, but I could see that he appreciated my concern. After dinner, Yanhan silently went to his bedroom. I cleared away the dishes and settled down on the sofa to rest a bit. The system interface activated. New task, train Shen Yu Chu to become the perfect woman. The reward was a medicine to restore Yan Han's vision. The prompt read, "At noon." The choice was simple: go ahead and activate the storyline, refuse and wait another day for the clue. My eyes lit up. For Yan Han, I was ready to do anything, even though the system, with its chances and cards, sometimes felt like a mockery. But while there was a chance, I had to take it. For Yan Han's sister's sake, I decided to wait until noon and head to the university. Covering myself with Yan Han's jacket, I inhaled the scent of her incense and quickly fell asleep. That night, the bedroom door quietly opened. Yan Han came up to me, felt my hand, and pressing his head to my chest, whispered, "Brother, bye." I woke up before dawn. In the morning, I made him breakfast: warm milk, sandwiches, and a portion of eggplant and fish sauce with meat, which I left in the fridge. Homemade food is always more reliable than delivery. I knocked on the door, saying goodbye. "Zio-han, I'm leaving. There's food in the fridge. Be sure to call if you need anything." I knew he was listening outside the door, even though he didn't answer. I went outside. There were no morning classes, so I called Shen Yu Chu. "Have you packed your things for moving?" "I'm ready. I'll be there soon." "No need. I'll pick you up myself. Come down." She obeyed. She tried to refuse. "I don't have that many things. I'll get there myself." "No, I insist," I snapped. I smiled and started the engine of my Lamborghini, heading to Madu University. As I approached the women's dormitory, I saw her in the distance. Her roommates were standing next to her, and I became worried. Was she being bullied again? One of them spoke harshly about her. "Everything in this room stinks. You're out of place here." Shen Yu Chu quietly retorted, "The voice is quiet, isn't it beautiful?" "I'm so poor I'll have to marry some old man," she sighed, and the conversation died down. At that moment, my Lamborghini skidded to a stop right at the entrance. The neighbors froze in shock. "It's a Lambo, what a man, what a beauty is he taking with him? I'm jealous," came the murmurs all around. I got out of the car and walked straight towards them. The neighbors started screaming, but I went up to the one who was behaving the most cruelly. I looked her coldly in the eyes, slapped her, and threw her to the ground. "Do you need money for treatment?" I asked. She suddenly stammered, "I don't need money, can you hit me again?" I just grabbed Shen Yuchu's hand and dragged him into the car. I didn't hit her any further, I didn't want to get my hands dirty. In the car, Shen Yuchu lowered her head in embarrassment. Standing at the traffic light, I gently straightened her hair. "Do people bully you often?" I asked, stroking her face. She didn't pull away. Instead, she leaned against me. "Would it be comfortable for me if you petted me?" "No, I'm usually in the library, we don't communicate often." "That's good." "I was bullied and I responded in kind," I said. "Why didn't you ask me to pet you sooner?" She paused. "I am your servant," she whispered, blushing. It seemed she had finally resigned herself to this role. "How cute she is," I gently took her chin in my hand. "Finally, I have my little kitten." "Be obedient and happy, that's part of your duties too," I said. The light turned green. I pulled my hand back and handed her the box of perfume. "Thanks for your help. Was it hard to see me hitting people?" I asked, watching her reaction. "They're weak and afraid of sounds. Didn't you see her fly away?" She looked at me with curiosity, her eyes wide. "Do you want a drink?" I asked, trying to distract her from her strange thoughts. She looked out the window, lost in thought. I really wanted to change her world, make it brighter. Suddenly she remembered, "Your house is on the wrong side." "I know," I replied. "I'll take you to buy some things you need." She quickly grabbed my hands, trying to stop me. "No need, I have everything I need, don't waste your money," she explained. My goal was to buy her a business suit. I didn't fully understand what made a woman perfect, but a suit seemed like a must-have. I eagerly awaited the opportunity to see her in a formal look, black or white, or better yet, both. Shen Yuchu glanced around. She thought her classmate was acting strange, so she closed her eyes just in case. "Cute cats can't help but love me," I thought, and took her to the shopping street of Huai City. I soon realized that there were no suitable girls' costumes in ordinary stores, and Shen Yuchu quietly followed me without asking unnecessary questions. We visited several boutiques, and finally I couldn't resist asking, "What kind of outfit do you consider workwear? I'll help you choose one." My modest classmate clearly didn't know what a proper girl's outfit looked like. Today she was wearing black sportswear, concealing her figure. "Really, I'd just like a skirt for work, that's enough," she smiled. "Work clothes are a must. Without them, you're like a wife without a husband." "An illusion," I replied, enjoying the shopping experience with this sweet girl. I picked up a white belt from the shelf. Lin Yiquan carefully examined the stamp. "Is this something of high quality?" The price was steep, 4 figures. For her, accustomed to shopping online, it was too much. "How can I know if I like this dress if it's uncomfortable to work in?" she wondered. "Many people dream of a white dress with a belt like this one. Why deny yourself such luxury?" "It's a waste of money," she said, but her eyes sparkled with joy. "I just want to see what you look like in it." "Is that enough?" I asked. The girl next to us watched the fitting with envy. "Handsome, your girlfriend looks absolutely stunning in that dress," she commented. I was no longer interested in the salesperson. I insisted that Shen Yuchu go to the fitting room. She looked so timid and vulnerable. Shen Yuchu walked out, covering her chest with her hands. "It's too tight." How could she even think of such a thing? She bowed her head and I saw her figure transform. She became part of this world, confident and graceful. "How do I look?" she asked, looking in the mirror. I gave her a thumbs up, although she still had doubts. She felt awkward, she felt too exposed. "I wouldn't wear this outside anyway," she concluded. I smiled and gently pushed her back into the room. "Get changed, let's go further." Shen Yuchu no longer wanted to go out, feeling that she owed me more and more. I could see her distress. "You don't have to pay," I said, but she firmly stated that she would return the money. I had to agree to her terms. "Being nicely dressed is part of a maid's job," I snapped, brooking no argument. She tried to say something, but I stopped any arguments. "Yes, sir," she replied meekly. "You are beautiful and it lifts my spirits. Keeping your master in good spirits is part of your contract." We left the shopping street in a short, light dress. She walked alongside me, timidly holding the hem of my clothes, like a child seeking protection from an adult. We stopped at a 24-hour store. The name Adult Products confused her. She was too naive to understand what they sold there. "What is this place?" She blinked at me. "Innocent head, silly girl. I could have cheated on her 8 times in a row, but I didn't want to anymore. Let's forget about it, save it for later. But I'm a grown man. While I was parking the car, I noticed something. A girl in a blue cat costume was taking a photo next to my Lamborghini. I waved and said hello. Hello, are you the owner of this place? I asked, trying to be polite. Give me your phone. This handsome guy took a picture of me. The car is simply out of this world. I snapped a couple more pictures for her. By the way, where do you buy such clothes? Shen Yu-chu watched us closely. I took a step back, feeling strange when I saw my classmate's face in the light of the night lights. Trying to explain, I muttered, "This is a wonderful second round." The girl in the maid costume nodded enthusiastically. Are you in the second round too? I bowed respectfully. I'm just playing my part, it's not a second round, I joked. She pointed to the alley ahead. There's a cuff store there. I said goodbye to her. The guy who was there looked okay, but it was better to go about my business. I decided to go into that store, and Shen Yu-chu's mouth opened in surprise. Wait, is this the work clothes you were talking about? She admitted. Almost, it's a maid's costume. Can you really work in that? I'm sure I can handle it. It seemed even more revealing than the belted dress. I laughed, imagining her in Rem's maid costume. She suddenly felt like a thief sneaking into an alien world. But it was too late to run away. She started crying, but look at her now, she's ready for change. I couldn't resist scratching her chin again. Oh no, it was so cute. I wanted to hide her from everyone so that no one would see this beauty on the street. Don't be shy, it's all fine, I said, continuing to caress her. We entered a cosplay store and the world around us seemed to transform. There were professional models in stunning outfits, bow ties, cat ears, chokers, and endless rows of silk socks in every color and texture. Shen Yu-chu's eyes lit up with delight. Dresses were hanging everywhere and I followed her, watching her reaction. If you like something, choose it, I suggested. She shook her head. No, I already bought a great dress. An energetic female consultant was milling around nearby. Beauty, would you like to try modeling? We have many looks that would suit your face perfectly, she suggested. I smiled. Thank you, we're here mainly for work gear. Is this something from the Rem series? The consultant asked. No, just work clothes, I replied. We didn't delay making our choice. The saleswoman brought out a black and white suit. Shen Yu-chu's mouth dropped open in amazement. How elegant it is, she exclaimed. I patted my chest. See, a very serious work outfit. She carefully accepted the dress as if it were the greatest treasure. I really don't want to work in such a beautiful dress. I'd hate to get it dirty, she whispered. I looked at her reproachfully. Where is your motivation? Shen Yu-chu just stuck out the tip of her tongue cutely. I'll take care of it. I'll even put it away in a special case in the closet, she promised. Shen Yu-chu looked stunning in this costume. She lifted her skirt slightly and bowed. Welcome home, master. Good night. The first step in raising the ideal woman has been taken. How do you like this start? Did you watch those videos yesterday? She asked expectantly. I think we missed something important, she whispered. I just laughed. Go home and we'll discuss it there, I replied. At home, I quickly changed into a white shirt. When I came out, I saw Shen Yu-chu squatting in the corner. She lowered her head onto her knees, resembling a small cat. I was curious about what she was doing, so I nudged her gently with my foot. Why are you sitting here? Go to your room, I said. She looked up at me without getting up. This picture made me smile involuntarily. Are you afraid that someone else will replace me? She asked quietly. I listened to her and helped her get up from the floor. There's no need for that. After all, a robot could never wear a woman's suit the way you can, I said. She bit her lip pitifully. I smiled. It's your indispensable trait. Use it wisely, I replied, looking out the window at the bright sun. Even if you say so, I will still wear it just for you, she added. I don't want to argue. Okay, see you later, I said, heading for the exit. Shen Yu-chu watched me go. I needed to remind her not to forget her task. Master, good luck, I heard her call after me. It's a shame the elevator doors had already closed and I didn't hear her words. If I had heard them, I probably would have gone back right away. She closed the door, feeling her face flush. In this 4-bedroom house, she'd chosen the one right next to mine. After unpacking her luggage, she buried her face in her backpack, feeling happy. Opening her diary, she wrote about what happened in the store and how I'd made fun of her. She wrote it all down so she could fight back later, but deep down, she was glad to be a hardworking girl. She wandered around the house trying to find something to do. Deciding to tidy up, she began washing off her makeup, including the remnants of the Thunder Mother makeup. She washed everything thoroughly. My clothes were on the washing machine, and after a moment's hesitation, she washed them along with hers. In her makeup bag, she found cat ears and those same silk socks. Trying the ears on in the mirror, she thought she looked pretty cute. She hung up the laundry. She paused for a second as she took off my pants, but then decisively sent them to the wash. In my trouser pocket, she found a pair of socks she had worn yesterday, her face flushed with embarrassment. A new entry appeared in the diary. I like these socks, the pants are so big. At that moment, I sneezed at the university. Which beauty is missing me? I joked, poking Li Shiyu in the side. I don't miss you, I just want to hit you, white Dasha. She immediately stepped on my foot. It was painful, but at the same time, somehow especially pleasant. I pretended to be busy taking notes. During the break, Li Shia lazily sprawled on the table. I was thinking about how I needed to get home early tonight to see my little girl. She was weak, but in some ways she was like a true lioness. Oh, I see, Shia drawled. If a little girl at home does this tonight. I was sure I wouldn't break the button, but Li Shia seemed so fragile. I looked at her more closely. She jokingly shook her finger at me, and I poked her back, trying to defuse the situation. What's wrong with that? I don't even know how much time you spend with me, I said. I remembered how we used to shower together as kids, and she immediately got angry. How many years have passed, and she still hasn't grown up? I looked at her again. Haven't you grown up yet? I asked, and Li Shia gave me a mysterious smile. A few seconds later, even the students in the back of the classroom heard my scream, not from pain, but from surprise. The evening after school promised to be long. When I returned home, I saw Shen Yuchu at the door. Welcome back, sir. At one point, I noticed she was acting devoted, almost like a dog, but then I saw the bite mark. What happened? I asked, smiling. Shen Yuchu carefully helped me sit down. What worried me most was the bite. Did you get vaccinated? No need to fight anymore, I said. This is the dog I raised from puppyhood, she answered quietly. Your words always sound strange. By the way, are you going to have dinner or go straight to the shower? I asked, unable to contain my curiosity. Is this also because of that video? Her hair fell over her shoulders like a full moon. I laughed, understanding what was hidden behind her secret thoughts. What a little girl she was, loving to learn. But there was a third answer, which she ignored, heading for the kitchen. If you eat first, I'll bring everything, she said without even turning around. I watched this naughty girl with a smile. I was a little annoyed, but the dinner prepared by this little hooligan made me soften. She cooked up some 8 treasures porridge and made a few appetizers. I was pleased. A hot dinner after a long day was just what I needed. Warmth spread through her body. Does it feel like home now? She asked, nibbling on a cucumber. Does your leg hurt seriously? Should you see a doctor? She suddenly asked. I just chuckled. Don't worry, it'll be over by morning. My mom has been stepping on me since I was a kid. I'm used to it. It's safe. My childhood friend knew how to calculate the force so as not to break bones. After dinner, Shen Yuchu washed the dishes, and I lay down on the sofa with my PlayStation. She wandered around the living room like a programmed robot. Hey, don't bother me while I'm playing, I muttered, unhappy with her fidgeting in front of the TV. She finally stopped and looked at me with wide eyes. Do you want to find a job? I started thinking about what it means to be a collaborator, to create something of your own, even if you're dead. While I was fighting monsters in the game, I periodically glanced at my little girl. She didn't understand what I was getting at. This skirt is a must, I said, and she, embarrassed, lifted the hem, revealing black silk socks on her feet. I was stunned. She lowered her hand with a bitter failing. No, this is too strange. If I hadn't known how simple and foolish she was, I would have thought she was seducing me. Don't worry, I'll teach you to be the perfect servant, I laughed. She began counting on her fingers, trying to figure out what the responsibilities of the ideal maid included. First, you need to be able to look impeccable, I said. This was just the beginning. Secondly, you need to be able to stand up for yourself and be confident, I added. She looked at her soft fist and nodded. I'll try my best. I couldn't help but smile. The third point I told her was to sit next to me. I pulled her close to me like an affectionate kitten. She obediently sat down next to me, clinging to me. I pinched her cheek. It was soft as a cloud. I began scratching her chin again, eliciting a contented purr. Today's lesson is over, I confirmed. She was so sincere in her obedience. The little cat with a flushed face looked adorable. She pushed me away. I'll go read. After all, she was an excellent student and I just wanted to play. While she quietly read nearby, occasionally pouring me some water, I finished the game and turned off the TV. I reached out and touched her chin. She looked up at me. Good night, she whispered, and the next morning, I walked into the classroom from the video, opening the dusty door. there was only one girl inside. She was standing facing me, performing some ritual actions and eating black seva. The high and low notes of her voice were reminiscent of a Western summoning ritual. I was confused. What did this have to do with Yanhan's medicine? The voice in my head prompted me again. Option: wait for Master Jai Yangchen or leave quietly after receiving the elite reward. Although I really wanted the reward, I decided to stay and wait. The battle was over. The girl fell onto the table, exhausted by the ritual, but nothing happened. I gave her a perfect performance. She raised herself, showing off her perfect figure, and our eyes met. Time stood still. I froze, looking into her eyes. I suddenly felt a surge of excitement, like a guy used to being in control. I was about to accept it as a random gift from fate, but something inside me sank, and it really got to me. Thoughts of Master and Yangchen swirled in my head, my plan of action already in place. But the situation had reached a dead end, and I remained where I was, not even bothering to pick up those black silk stockings. The girl watched me, smiling faintly. She seemed less than pleased. There was a hint of impudence in her voice. I thought we needed to change the tone of the conversation to establish a deeper connection. I chuckled. But those around her found the place intriguing. The painting clearly highlighted her slender legs against the other elements of the interior. At that moment, she teased me with the tips of her toes. "Accept my gift. It's impolite to keep a beauty waiting," she said, gracefully entering the room. Those same black stockings lay on the floor. I took a step forward, not hiding my displeasure. I tried to pick up her gift, but as soon as my fingers approached the black silk, the girl's wrist turned imperceptibly. A dagger flashed in her hand, and the silk lashed out at me like a whip. At the same moment, steel flashed. I used Yangchen's technique to quickly move away and avoid the blow. Looking at the blade, I realized it was Li Chen's. Her perfume enveloped me. The pink dagger she held seemed like a cute little toy, but her movements suggested otherwise. The weapon fell from her hands, and a brief fight ensued. Thanks to the skills I'd learned from my master, I gained the upper hand. The girl lost her weapon and found herself at a disadvantage. Instead of fear, she laughed even louder. "You hit me so hard, handsome, that my hands turned red. Look at her. Have I really become that aggressive? What kind of knife is that she has? What if she slashes my face? Oh, I couldn't bear that. My face is my treasure. I'm just afraid you might decide to attack. Maybe you should tone it down," I asked. As we spoke, she kicked her leg up in a sharp motion. I watched her every move, but her short skirt distracted me. Excitement mixed with irritation. I stopped wasting words, took 2 quick steps forward, suppressed her resistance, and pinned her to the table. She lay with her face pressed against the table, looking up at me. Even as a handsome man, I knew how to be tough when necessary. I didn't back down, and my strength only increased at that moment. Apparently her body was too stubborn to simply obey. But under my pressure, she finally began to give in. After making sure she no longer had a weapon, I looked around the classroom. The room had a desolate air, but everything necessary for life was there. It felt like a secret base. Only the girl's elegant chair looked out of place. I glanced at the table and winced. There was gauze and handcuffs lying there. This girl knew a thing or two about specific games. Realizing I'd revealed her secret, she stirred, her face flushed, and her gaze grew heavy. She whispered, "I wonder how such a handsome man will decide to punish me." I was faced with a choice: punish this mysterious girl by branding her with the Black Knight's Empire brand, or let her go, rewarding her with the womb of a sow for her silence. Hearing about the Black Knight's body, I thought such power might protect her from bullets, as a shootout could easily break out here. I decided to take this route, as there was no turning back. I took the handcuffs from the table and cuffed her hands. Then I raised one of her hands high, and she froze, as if in a daze. Her reaction reminded me of the peach I'd eaten the day before, something soft and sweet. She lay helplessly on the table, looking at me with a hazy gaze. "So handsome, are you going to punish me? What else can I say?" I granted her wish. A drum-like rhythm began to fill the classroom, but suddenly the door swung open. "I'm late. My master Yangchen has reappeared in this world." A female security guard appeared at the door, and next to her was the same large girl whom I had recently thrown aside like a broken peach. I was too lazy to continue what I'd started on the table. The big girl smiled contentedly, watching our squabble. However, after a couple of movements, the maid found herself pinned to the table next to me. Suddenly, she pulled a gun from under her skirt and pointed it at me. I had to raise my hands. The large woman, her face still flushed from the recent events, stood up. She took the pistol from the maid's hands. She smiled. "How do you like it, handsome? Now it's time for others to punish you. The bet is 30,000. Shall we play? I understood everything. She was aiming a Russian roulette gun. I heard the trigger being cocked and my heart started beating in time with the sound. The big girl watched my fear with pleasure. She laughed, "Little cutie, why are you so sad? We were having a great time, weren't we?" I tried to keep my voice level, my mind racing. The Black Knight's body wouldn't help here, the chances were too slim. Her arms were wrapped around my neck and I felt like a criminal cornered. A whisper, poisonous as a snake's hiss, reached my ears. "That was fun, handsome, the end." She put the gun on the bed. I thought it was a chance, but I wasn't sure, so I didn't risk it. Now the female guard was holding the gun, aiming it straight at me. The large woman lifted those same black stockings and gracefully tied them around my neck. The fabric was warm and damp. She sat behind the wheel and the guard asked, "What should we do with this guy?" "Sure, tie him up." I was transformed into something like a lapdog. The large woman sat down on the table, holding the end of a silk leash around my neck and pulled me closer, smiling. "So handsome, do you want to make me your dog? Don't wait for me to talk first." The guard pulled out some ropes. The large woman clearly knew a thing or two about knots. She tied me up so skillfully, as if I were a work of art. The big girl nodded contentedly. She waved her hand. "Take it back, I still like that image." How to get out of Madu University? A large girl approached the shelf. She casually tugged at the book and the shelves slid open, revealing a passage to a secret room. We headed toward the elevator. The girl turned around. She pointed the revolver at me again, and without thinking, I pulled the trigger, not even having time to think. The laws of Empire K came into effect. No bullets, no shots fired. Instead, the upbeat theme song from The Funny Sheep and the Grey Wolf began playing over the speakers. A fragrant soap bubble flew into my face, causing me to react involuntarily. It turned out it wasn't a gun, but a bubble gun. The girl was squatting on the ground, chuckling quietly. Tears involuntarily welled up in her eyes. "Ha ha ha, did I scare you, handsome?" she whispered, unable to contain her laughter. I could only smile sadly to the cheerful music from the cartoon. As she predicted, there were plenty of fish in the net. The situation was exciting. Soon I was seated in a bright, colorful car. The girl's face expressed feigned pity. I still couldn't get over how easily I'd fallen for that soapbox. The music from Zai Yang Yang continued to play cheerfully, irritating me. "Maybe you should turn it off. I admit defeat, big miss," I sighed. She, however, simply beamed with delight. She put the gun barrel to my chin. "Don't be sad, handsome. I've already swapped it for a real one. Don't be offended, it's just a prank. See how I even picked the music?" I just remained silent, unsure of what to say. I didn't feel like talking. She squatted down in front of me again. Her eyes widened into narrow crescents with a smile. I hadn't seen her this happy in a long time. She moved even closer. Shea's voice sounded very close, right in my ear. I felt surprisingly comfortable. For a moment, I even thought that next time I should let her have the upper hand. But now I couldn't allow myself to be weak and tolerate her bullying. The maid, quietly driving the car, suddenly said, "There, at the fork, the old lady, she's already here." It turned out she was a fierce mercenary. We abruptly pulled the van onto the road just as several bread trucks sped past. The van was blocked. The maid stepped out of the car into danger. A man in black joined her. The girl was acting extremely provocatively, but the black man was in no hurry to become aggressive. They took out their guns, and watching this scene, I couldn't help but be sarcastic. "What are these bubble guns again? Are you some kind of family-run soap company?" I quipped, watching the girl continue to play with her toy. "It's a tranquilizer gun. My father's men want to get me back on a blind date, but I won't let them use a real gun," she snapped, starting to untie my bonds. Finally, I was free. The first thing I decided to do was punish her for her antics. By that point, the man in black had already managed to neutralize the maid. The girl, realizing her mistake, put a modified revolver with anesthetic into my hand. Her eyes were watering. "Handsome, help me out just this once, will you? These people want to drag me off on a date and I don't want to," she blurted out unexpectedly. "They're trying to catch you on this date. That's not my problem," I replied as she fidgeted nervously on the couch. "I can become your puppy, just help me." Hearing this, I thought about it. Hoping to find clues about the health of that perfect nanny, I grabbed a modified revolver and got behind the wheel, ready to face the enemy. I'd once been less than stellar in my hacker empire, but now I'd managed to take down all the attackers. I spun around. The older and younger sisters had already dragged the nanny's bodyguard back into the car. I stomped on the gas, accelerating at breakneck speed, escaping my pursuers. She left, leaving only one postcard on the ground. I picked it up. It said, Zia Yubing. I was about to go home when everything changed. Zia Yubing dragged me into this wild affair. Later, when Li Xia came to pick me up, I had to turn off her phone so we wouldn't be tracked. She appeared on her little electric scooter, feigning innocence. Explain to your mother what you're doing in the middle of nowhere, she asked. I looked at her. Look at me, I laughed. Remember what we were like as kids, total chaos, don't change the subject. Mom, I'm a fugitive. I came to pick you up, not to explain myself. I just had to convince her to get out of the car. Li Xia looked at me intently. I asked her why she was late, not wanting to admit that I didn't want to go home. I had to resort to my diplomacy. Let us have some barbecue first and talk on the way, I suggested, and soon the smell of grilled meat filled the air. Li Xia turned out to be very quick-witted. She immediately started her scooter, and after a long argument, we set off. We stopped at a milk tea shop called Moon Color. I don't care whether you buy me tea or not, the main thing is that you showed up in this wilderness, she said, nodding to me. Okay, then I'll order the barbecue and you go get some tea. She grabbed my hand, not wanting to let go. You white idiot, tea is free at the barbecue shop. Go ahead, don't waste time, even if you've already ordered. I teased her and she shook my sleeve. We laughed. And where did you get so much property? A wife, 2 mothers. Li Xia pulled me into the shop. There's still a lot you don't know, I replied with a smile. The task popped into my head again. I offered Li Xia some tea and then we decided to have some roast meat as well. I had money and I could afford it. I was thinking about starting a business. Was it worth a try? In the current climate, a milk tea shop seemed the simplest and most logical option. Li Xia extended her gentle hand, squeezing mine. What are you up to now, you fool? Let's go. I pulled her to the other side of the road. I bought her tea not for the drink itself. I was rich, but wealth means nothing if you can't share simple joy with someone close to you. She pouted, looking like the same white fool from my memories. I'll have to scold you for this tea, she said. And don't you like it when I scold you? I chuckled. I'll never admit it, she snapped. Li Xia approached, her expression a mixture of pity and tenderness. What the hell, hentai, aren't you my favorite? I have no idea what you're talking about, I replied, hiding my smile. At home, Shen Yuchu, my little maid, was sitting on the sofa, finishing her dinner. She seemed upset when she saw my message that I wouldn't be returning. The kitchen was sizzling and smelled of soup. I decided to go home early to make chicken soup using a recipe I'd seen in a video, one with boki root, jade, and royal scallions. I still couldn't understand why she was so obsessed with correcting me with these strange strategies. It wasn't robbery after all. The pressure cooker was still hissing. Shen Yuchu looked up at me, her eyes silently saying, "Oh well, I ate it all anyway, not a drop was left." A thought flashed through my head. She must be keeping some kind of maid's diary where she writes down how to get revenge on me for not returning for dinner. I wrote her a note, put my phone away, and waited for my milk tea. I chatted with the shop owner's sister to find out the prices for the goods and the cost of the guest house. She quoted a hefty sum. Luckily, I now had the recipe for milk tea. The taste is identical, so there's no need for a guest house. The tea house owner must have stolen the recipe from Zai Huangbao. Although, can you really call reading someone else's notes stealing? It's just the nature of things. Soon, I was sitting at a barbecue joint. Li Xia grabbed my chin. Hey, you idiot, are you really thinking of opening your own milk tea shop? I have that thought. Are guest houses really that popular these days? I asked. You're not planning on hiring staff in black uniforms like those girls at the tea shop, are you? She asked. I quickly stuffed a piece of meat into her mouth. Let him shut up, I thought. Li Xia swallowed. Even if she bribed my mother, she wouldn't become the manager. I didn't care about her teasing. I finished the barbecue, saw Li Xia off, and snuck home at 3 in the morning. At that moment, I felt as if I were carrying not Shen Yuchu, but my little daughter, with Li Xia walking beside me. I had a strong feeling that Shen Yuchu would stare at me. I struggled out of the elevator. I hoped that if I entered the apartment silently, I could avoid a showdown. Shen Yuchu was already waiting for me at the threshold. Take off your clothes, sir. Welcome back, she said. I tried not to show my nervousness. Just a maid, I reminded myself, keeping a calm smile on my face. She smiled back, changed her slippers, and asked, How do you manage to sneak out every time it's time to go home? She wagged her finger at me. I met her gaze. This must be part of the training program for ideal maids. She pulled a small stool to the door, sat down, and began to read. I settled down on the sofa. We were getting closer and closer, and this, it seemed, was also part of her duties. Master, listen to the strange sounds she makes, she suddenly said. I asked her to check, even though I couldn't care less what was going on there at night. Shen Yu-chu obediently stood nearby. She folded her hands in front of her as befits a first-class servant. I understand, sir, you don't have to account for how you spend your time outside the home. There was a hint of emotion in her voice. I sat on the couch and reluctantly extended my hand to her. She obediently bowed her head, offering my palm her face. Poor, weak, and defenseless servant, I laughed and patted her chin. Don't be sad, I said. A good servant should always smile. She left, smiling obediently. What's wrong with me? Why do I feel guilty when I come home late? You're too clingy, baby, I said. She smiled back. No, I thought she's just a cute cat. I need to get something from my bag. Bring it to me. I stroked her cheek. She blushed. She ran out to open the door and I looked at her, propping my face up with my hand. Well, open it up. Let's see what's in there, I said. Her hair shone brightly in the lamplight. She remained silent, burning with curiosity. What had the master brought his maid? She eagerly opened the package. There was milk tea and strawberry cake. With each new gift, her smile grew wider. She tried to hand me the package, but she tripped, and I caught her, sitting her down on the sofa. She pressed herself against me, hugging my arm. I gently lifted her chin, so soft, so pliable, just a little cat. Well, do I deserve a reward for the gifts? I asked. She made a sound like Halulu. What a good cat. Great, come on, eat faster, I commanded. The barbecue hasn't cooled down yet. She hurried to the kitchen. She returned with a large bowl of chicken soup. I was just helping her put it on the table. It smelled amazing. I rarely ate homemade soup since my parents passed away. She smiled and shook her spoon. She started feeding me with a spoon. Try it, I've been trying for a long time. The taste was incredibly natural. I felt awkward. You should have barbecue too, I said. I added a bunch of Chinese herbs to it. They say they restore male potency, she whispered. I almost choked on my soup. Who even told her that I needed to be corrected? This girl clearly has her own way of thinking. She took the milk tea and gasped. Wow, this is an expensive brand. I stroked her head. Just eat with me, I said. She pouted. She inserted a straw into the glass and brought it to my lips. I took a sip. The soup was delicious, but this tea was simply amazing. She was exhausted at the stove, but the result was worth it. Her face took on a strange expression again. She poked me in the eye with her finger and then rested her feet on my knees. Every girl loves sweets. Shen Yu-chu was like sugar, spice, and everything beautiful in this world. So gentle, waving her tiny legs. She closed her eyes and ate the barbecue with relish. Oh, will this kneeling bench make me fat? She asked, her mouth full. I laughed and lightly patted her cheek. No way, you see, these delicacies don't have calorie counts on them, right? They definitely don't say they'll make Lin Kai fat. Hearing my words, she beamed and her happy expression returned. I picked up my cup of milk and my bowl of soup clanked lightly against the edge of the table. Shen Yu-chu swung her feet contentedly. Her rabbit-eared slippers kept slipping off, revealing ankles covered in black silk. The skin beneath the fabric was so soft and translucent that fine greenish veins showed through, like hidden emotions cloaked beneath the soft covering. I couldn't help but stare. Taking a large sip of chicken soup, I appreciated its divine taste. After dinner, I washed up and left the kitchen. Shen Yu-chu was sitting in the living room reading a book. Seeing me, she smiled. Master, will you be playing your games again tonight? I was about to go to the bedroom, but seeing it so cozy, I changed my mind. I sank down on the sofa next to her, pressing my back against the headboard. No games, I'd rather read with you, I said. Don't you have to train to stay at the top of the leaderboard? She asked. I just chuckled at my own greed. Oh, knowledge should just appear in your head naturally, not accumulate with age, I joked. She looked at me like I was stupid. She rolled her eyes playfully, feigning distaste. God, she was so sweet. A woman without a drop of malice is definitely not perfect. I needed to contact Xia Yubing and send Shen Yu-chu to training. I tried several times, but the call was dropped every time. I went to the search engine, added Xia Yubing as a friend, and sat down next to my maid again. My gaze fell on her picking at her ears. I froze for a second. What if my little maid did me such a favor? I quickly turned off the phone. Xia Yubing, oh, forget it. Maybe you could take care of my ears, maid, I asked, rubbing my hands. Ear cleaning service, are you serious? She pressed her hand to her mouth in surprise. Shen Yu-chu took out a professional tool kit from the desk drawer. Every maid must know this, she said with a deep sigh, as if preparing for an important ritual. She patted her thigh. Master, make yourself comfortable. She closed her eyes and slightly lifted the hem of her uniform. Her legs in black stockings were soft as jelly. I was shocked by such obvious care. "Please, my dear," I whispered, resting my head on her thigh. She smelled of honey and milk chocolate. The silk of her stockings was incredibly pleasant to the touch. I hadn't spent so much time choosing this outfit in the store for nothing. Her thighs were perfectly shaped, not too skinny. It was a shame that next time I wouldn't ask her to put on a stocking on just one leg so I could compare the sensations. She gently cupped my head in her hands. I froze, afraid to move, so as not to frighten the moment and break her concentration. I didn't want to rush her. Everything needs to be done gradually. She carefully adjusted my head to make it more comfortable. She picked up the tools, her movements surprisingly gentle. Apparently, she'd really learned a lot from watching those videos. The technology was top-notch, but the most important thing was the intimacy. After the procedures, I returned to the bedroom. I decided to give her a little time to cool down, happily stretching out on the bed. My nightstand was littered with junk that couldn't even begin to compare to the warmth I'd received today. I picked up my phone again. Xia Yubing approved the request but immediately retracted the message. What was it? I sent a question mark. Time was running out and I was eager to find out what she had in mind. Finally, the address arrived. No unnecessary words, just coordinates. The map showed it was deep desert. The decision was made. I was faced with a choice. Go to the address and get the Dugu Jiujian, or stay to guard the base and get the Bixi manual. Fatty, is there really a choice? Of course, the choice was obvious. The next morning, before leaving, I recorded a short video with my kitty to recharge my batteries and kissed Shen Yu Chu on the cheek. She walked with me all the way to the exit. "Teacher, walk more slowly. I feel strength awakening within me." I took everything I needed and soon reached my destination. There I ran into the warrior woman I'd seen yesterday. It turned out we were doing the same thing. "By the mistress's order, Mr. Bai, follow me," the maid said and led me to a luxurious estate. We walked for a long time until we stopped at a small bamboo forest. "The lady is waiting for you, Master Lin," the maid said, and I entered the thick bamboo where I found Xia Yubing. She was sitting by the stream, her feet in the water. When she saw me, she looked up. She had a cup of tea in her hands. "Come here," she called. Today she looked calmer than yesterday and seemed to read my thoughts. Thinking about my figure, she chuckled. There were no secrets for this sweet, plump girl. I wasn't surprised. She probably knows everything about herself, right down to what I'm wearing. I took a sip of tea. Better to keep quiet, I thought. It seemed she thought the same. Her performance yesterday shocked me, and today she was gentle and soft again. She was clearly pretending, but I liked it. She was completely transformed. "Can you handle this?" she asked, smiling defiantly. "You still prefer the gentle fairies?" she added, shifting into a more comfortable position. I sat down next to him, picking up a bamboo stick from the ground. I liked her in every form, a gentle, noble fairy begging for mercy. That was just what I needed. She poked my ear nonchalantly as the rain poured around me. There was nothing special about the moment, but it felt perfect.